Hi everybody! Today we are going to combine our work from yesterday and the previous unit by practicing solving a systems of equations by graphing. So please pause this video and write down this topic and essential question in your notebook. Next, please copy down this question, these notes, these equations, and this graph. So let's get into this problem. Our question today is, how do I solve a system of equations by graphing? Well, to graph, we have been using this form of our equation the most often. We call this slope-intercept form. So slope because our slope is in the equation, and intercept because our y-intercept is also in the equation. So to graph using one of these equations, we are going to first put the y-intercept on the graph, and then we're going to use the slope to graph the next point. So let's take a look at this first equation. First step, put the y-intercept on the graph. Our y-intercept is 3. So I'm going to start by putting 3 on our graph on the y-axis. Then we're going to use our slope to graph the next point. Our slope is the number with our x, and remember, we can turn a whole number into a fraction by writing that whole number over 1, because any number divided by 1 is the same number. So if this is our rise over our run, this tells us that starting at that point, 3, we're going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And we can do the same thing in the backwards direction too. Just make sure that these are on the same line. So we're just going back 2, down 1, back 2, down 1, back 2, down 1, back 2, down 1. And I am going to do my best to draw a straight line through those points. So all the points on this line are a solution to the equation y equals 2x plus 3. Next, we're going to draw the other equation, because this is a system of equations, which means we need to have more than just one equation. So again, the number without x is our y-intercept. We're going to start at -2. Our slope is -1/2, which we can write as -1 over 2. We can move that negative either to the top or the bottom. So that means our rise is down 1. And our run is over 2. So we're going to go down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. And we can go backwards too. Over 1, up 1. Over 1, over 2, up 1. Over 2, up 1. And I can use that to draw our line. So I'm going to make the other line a little bit clearer too. Okay, we're looking for our solution to this situation, this system of equations. When it says something like solve a system of equations, it means what is the solution? Our solution is the point where our two lines cross each other. So our solution is the point -2, -1. Our solution is -2, -1. X is -2, y is -1, because that's the point where your two lines cross each other. So our first step was to put the y-intercept on the graph. Second, use the slope, and then we can find the solution. Make sure to have this written down, and then we're going to do one more example. Okay. So the other form that we're going to be solving equations in is a form called standard form. That's when your x and your y are on the same side and it equals one whole number on the other side, or like a fraction or decimal, but there can't be an x or y on the right side. C's just gotta be a number. So in order to solve this system of equations, we have to be able to graph these equations. We're going to graph it by using a method called intercept graphing. I don't actually know if it's called that. But we're going to find our x-intercept and our y-intercept for both equations. So first, we're going to let y equals 0 and solve for x, and that will tell us what our x-intercept is. So I'm going to move this over here. I'm just going to write this equation twice because we're going to solve it in two different ways. So first we're going to let y equals 0. So that means instead of y, we're going to plug in 0. So we have 2x plus 4 times 0 equals 12. Well, 4 times 0 is just 0. So we have 2x plus 0 equals 12, or 2x equals 12. Then we can divide both sides by 2 to get x by itself. We get x equals 6. So when y is 0, x is 6. That's our x-intercept. We can put that point on the graph, 6, 0. Next, we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to let x equal 0 and solve for y, and that will be our y-intercept. So I'm going to say x equals 0. So instead of x, we're plugging in 0. Two times 0 plus 4y equals 12. Well, 2 times 0 is 0, so that just kind of goes away. That's why we're plugging in 0, because when you multiply by 0, it goes away, then becomes nothing. So we're left with positive 4y equals 12. And again, to solve this, we can divide both sides by 4. We get y equals 3. So when x equals 0, y equals 3. So our other point is at 0, 3. It's a lot easier if you have like a ruler or something to draw a line through those points. I'm just gonna do my best. We might have to go back and fix this if we need to be more precise. But that is how we graphed the first one. So we used our two intercepts. We're going to do the same thing for our second equation. So I'm going to put it over here so we have space. First, we're going to say y equals 0. So instead of y, I'm going to plug in 0. 2 times 0 is 0. So we just get x equals 2. So our first point is 2, 0. The next step, I'm going to do x equals 0. So instead of x, I'm going to plug in 0 minus 2y equals 2. 0 again is like nothing, so we have negative 2y equals 2. Don't forget about that negative. We can divide both sides by negative 2. We get y equals negative 1. So our other point is 0, negative 1. So let's put this on our graph. We have 2, 0. And we have 0, negative 1. So let's see here. It actually looks like I could have drawn this line a little bit neater. So our line should go nicely through those points. And this one should go nicely through these points. Again, it's a lot easier if you have an actual ruler. Ugh. But anyway, our solution to this problem is this point where they cross each other. We have one solution that would make both equations true, and that is the point 4, 1. X equals 4, y equals 1. Okay. All right, make sure you have this written down in your notebook and then go back to Schoology to see the worksheet for today. Thanks, everybody. Bye.